There are no coincidences. You didn't find this message. It found you. Because right now, in the quiet corners of your mind, you've begun to feel it. A strange sense that something deeper is shifting beneath the surface of your life. You're not crazy. You're not lost. You're just waking up. And this is the moment your true timeline begins. There's a reason you pressed play. There's a reason you're still listening. Because the field is calling you back to remember what you've always been. There is a strange ache you have been carrying, a soft discomfort that sits just beneath the surface of your daily life. It does not scream, it hums, quietly, persistently. It moves through you in still moments, in the silences between tasks, in the space just before sleep. You have tried to name it. Restlessness, maybe, or emptiness. You have wondered if it is anxiety, or a subtle call for more. You have tried routines, you have tried to be grateful, but the ache persists, not as a flaw but as a signal. Because deep inside you, something knows this is not all there is. You feel it when you smile, but the smile does not reach the center of you. You feel it when you achieve what you once wanted, and still something feels missing. It is as though your outer life and inner knowing are speaking two different languages. You are not alone in this. And you are not broken. What you are feeling is not dysfunction. It is divergence. Your external world is vibrating at a frequency you have already begun to rise beyond. You are no longer a match for the version of life you have been living. That friction, that ache, it is the residue of the old timeline. You are outgrowing who you have been, and your soul knows it. You are sensing the tension between your current reality and the one your deeper self already sees. You may not have the words for it yet, but you have the feeling, like your life is pressing against the walls of an invisible container, and the container is cracking. These cracks are not signs of failure. They are invitations. They are the places where light wants to get in, where your awareness wants to expand. They are the exact spots the quantum field is gently nudging open, not to break you but to stretch you into truth. This is why things that once comforted you now feel hollow. Why conversations feel misaligned. Why routines feel heavy. Why success feels shallow. Because you are vibrating out of sync with what used to fit. This is not collapse. It is resonance evolving. You are not falling apart. You are shedding. And shedding is not chaos. It is intelligence. The deeper part of you, the part that already sees your highest timeline, is leading this shift. Even if your mind does not fully understand it yet, you are being asked to listen beneath logic, to trust what you feel in your bones but cannot yet prove, to lean into the spaces that make no sense, because that is where alignment begins. The anxiety you feel is not from a lack of purpose. It is the pressure of purpose trying to break through. It is your true path, tapping from the inside, waiting to be chosen. You have not missed it. You are standing in the exact coordinates where your next reality begins to unfold. So let the dissonance be your guide. Let the discomfort be your proof that your frequency is shifting, that your soul is rising, that your timeline is updating from the inside out. You are in the in-between, the sacred space between what was and what wants to be. This is where timelines fracture. This is where truth rearranges reality. And yes, it can feel lonely. It can feel unclear. It can feel like you are walking through fog. But that fog is only the veil between your current vision and your quantum self, and every step you take toward authenticity dissolves it. This is your spiritual GPS recalibrating. This is your signal strengthening. This is your reality asking to be reauthored. The very discomfort you feel is proof that something more is calling you. Can you feel the pull? It is easy to believe you have failed, to look back at missed chances, delayed decisions, old patterns, and feel shame settle into your bones. It is easy to think you strayed from the path. But what if you never did? What if every pause, every detour, Every so-called mistake was part of an exquisite unfolding. In the quantum field, there is no such thing as off-path, there is only coherence or learning. You did not fail, you simply forgot. You forgot how deeply the field was holding you. You forgot that every twist in your timeline was orchestrated for your awakening, not your punishment. Because even in your doubt, the field never wavered. Even in your confusion, it remained clear. You were always inside the choreography of something vast, something intelligent. Yes, you forgot your power, but forgetting is not the end, it is the beginning. You see, the quantum field operates without judgment. It does not penalize you for delay. It does not scold you for fear. It does not keep score. It simply responds, moment by moment, to your state of being, to your broadcasted identity. Even when you were asleep inside your own story, the field kept arranging synchronicities. Even when you could not hear the call did not stop. There were days you felt lost. That feeling was not truth, it was contrast. There were moments you questioned your worth. That questioning did not dim your light, it helped you locate it. Because sometimes, alignment is not a lightning strike, it is a slow remembering. It is realizing that what you thought was a breakdown was really a breakthrough in disguise, that the relationship that shattered your heart was actually a portal to self-worth, that the job you outgrew was a timeline asking to be released. You were never being punished, you were being prepared. You needed to feel the mismatch so you could crave resonance. You needed to outgrow the old container so your true frequency could surface. You needed to walk in the wrong direction just long enough to recognize the right one. This is not failure. This is sacred architecture. Everything was happening within the quantum field, and the field does not waste. It records everything, stores everything, uses everything. Even your silence, even your resistance, even your forgetfulness. It was all data, and the field was patiently waiting for the moment you would come online, fully, consciously, willingly. This moment, you are not late. You are not behind. You are simply present, and that presence rewrites everything. Because when you shift into awareness, the timeline recalibrates instantly. And what once looked like chaos suddenly reveals its pattern. The pain had a purpose. The pause had a message. The fog had form. Now you see it, and now that you see it, you can walk it, not blindly, not in fear, but with awakened eyes and a steady heart. There is no need to mourn the years you think you lost. The truth is, nothing was lost. It was simply latent, waiting for the signal of your awareness to activate it. You were never disconnected, only dreaming. You were never abandoned, only paused. You were never out of alignment, only unaware. And now you are remembering. You are remembering that your soul is not separate from the quantum field. It is part of its intelligence. You are remembering that alignment does not mean perfection. It means honesty. It means resonance. It means choosing what feels true over what looks safe. Every moment of dissonance before this one was the universe whispering, "Look again. Come back. Wake up." You heard the call. That is why you are here. That is why you pressed play. That is why you are still listening. This is your re-entry point. This is your timeline convergence. And there is nothing you need to do except see, because seeing is the switch. Awareness is the ignition. The field is already responding. The version of you who doubted, delayed, and detoured, that version was not wrong. That version was the bridge. And this version of you, the one remembering, the one realigning, this is the signal. This is the broadcast that tells the universe, I am ready to receive what was always mine. You were never lost. You were gathering momentum. And now that you are aware, the field responds in kind. Say it gently. I was always meant to find this. You have been asking, over and over again. You have whispered it in meditations, spoken it in affirmations, written it in journals. You have asked for clarity. for abundance, for love, for change. And still the silence lingered. Still, the shifts you desired felt distant. Still, the evidence refused to arrive on command. It is not because you are doing something wrong. It is because the quantum field does not respond to what you say, it responds to what you are. This universe, this vibrating field of possibility, is not listening for your voice. It is listening for your signal. And your signal is not crafted in words. It is emitted through identity. When you say, "I am abundant," but vibrate with fear, the field hears the fear. When you say, "I am ready," but carry the weight of hesitation, the field mirrors back the waiting. Not because it is punishing you, but because it is precise. It cannot be fooled. It cannot be tricked. It does not read your lips. It reads your coherence. Your electromagnetic field, your frequency, is your request. And it is being transmitted every second, whether you realize it or not. The question is not, "Are you asking clearly?" The question is, "Who are you being while you ask?" This is why identity is everything. Because the quantum field responds to you. Not your mask, not your performance, not your performance of worthiness. Just you. And so when you shift who you are, reality must shift to meet it. Not instantly, not always dramatically, but inevitably. You are not waiting on the universe. The universe is orbiting around your current energetic signature. And if you have been feeling like nothing is changing, it may be because your identity is still broadcasting from the past. You may be saying the right things, but if you still feel like the old version of yourself, if you still carry the patterns, the postures, the inner scripts of who you once were, the field has no choice but to reflect that frequency back. It does not argue. It does not resist. It simply echoes. This is not meant to discourage you. This is meant to free you, because it means you do not need to beg. You do not need to push harder. You do not need to speak louder. You only need to become the signal. You only need to decide from the inside out. This is who I am now, not as a performance, not as a wish, but as a grounded, coherent state of being. That is when the quantum field begins to reorganize. Not because you spoke, but because you broadcasted. And the frequency of that new identity, clear, aligned, unshakable, becomes magnetic. It pulls the matching timeline into form. It bends probability in your favor. It collapses the gap between desire and embodiment. You are not the request. You are the transmission. And when the field mirrors back your true signal, something shifts. Whisper this: "I am already what I seek." There are infinite versions of you. The version who hesitated. The version who soared. The one who stayed. The one who left. Each possibility, each outcome, already existing in the quantum field. You do not create these timelines by force. You do not drag them into being with effort. You tune into them, just like a frequency on a radio dial. The future you want is not built, it is received. It is accessed through resonance, not resistance. You have been taught to chase outcomes, to set goals, push harder, stay busy, to demand results. But in the quantum field, the signal you emit selects the timeline you enter. There is nothing random about it. The field is vibrationally precise. When your internal state, your emotion, your belief, your embodiment aligns with a particular version of reality, the field locks onto that frequency and mirrors it back. That is the shift, not a reward, not luck, not destiny in the passive sense, but an active attunement. You do not choose timelines the way you choose an outfit. You become them. You are not waiting for abundance. You are tuning into the version of you who already feels abundant. You are not chasing love. You are aligning with the frequency of worthiness that makes love inevitable. This is not imagination. It is physics. Everything vibrates. And vibration determines what you are compatible with. This is why effort without alignment exhausts you. Because you are pushing against the signal rather than broadcasting one that draws in what you desire. So how do you tune in? Not by thinking harder, but by softening. By releasing the grip. By asking yourself, who do I become when I stop trying to fix everything? What happens when I trust that the timeline I want is already here, and I just need to match it? Because the future you seek does not live in the distance. It lives in the now, filtered through your frequency. If your energy says, I am ready, but your body is tense, your thoughts are skeptical, and your emotions are coded with doubt, then the field listens to your body, not your words. Tuning is not pretending. It is choosing alignment over logic. It is trusting that reality is listening to your state, not your schedule. And you can shift timelines, not through drama, but through subtle inner shifts. A breath, a release, a decision, a moment of coherence. When your inner world matches the vibration of your desired outcome, the outer world has no choice but to update. It may take time. It may unfold gently, but the shift is real. You have felt it before, that sudden clarity, that strange peace. That moment when something clicks and reality bends just slightly in your favor. That was not luck. That was you tuning in. You are the dial. You are the frequency. You are the match. The timelines are not waiting to be built. They are waiting to be tuned into. Let go of the noise. Let go of the rush. Feel into the signal. Align with the version of you who already lives it, breath by breath. Let's go deeper into the mechanics of this shift. Close your eyes and feel which version is already arriving. Everything you see around you, the people, the circumstances, the patterns, feels so solid, so certain. It looks like life is happening to you, like events are unfolding, and you are simply responding. But what if you are not the witness you think you are? What if reality is not something you observe, but something you project? In quantum physics, the observer effect tells us that observation influences the observed. But this is not just about particles in a lab. It is about the very fabric of your life. You are not watching reality unfold. You are streaming it from the inside out. Your attention does not just highlight reality, it shapes it. The fears you focus on, the stories you replay, the assumptions you carry, all of it becomes part of the lens you unconsciously project outward. And then you mistake that projection for truth. You say, this always happens to me. And so, it does. You say, people are never there when I need them. And so you do not see the ones who are. You say, I am stuck. And so you tune into the timeline where nothing moves. It is not a punishment. It is precision. The field is not here to challenge your beliefs. It is here to reflect them. And once you understand this, you stop blaming the mirror. You start changing the light source. You begin to ask, what am I expecting to see? What beliefs are creating this filter? What emotional tone is coloring this entire experience? Because the world does not show up as it is. It shows up as you are. When you carry fear, the world feels unstable. When you carry shame, the world feels cold. When you carry doubt, opportunities seem to disappear. But none of that is out there. It is all being streamed through the lens of consciousness, through you. This is not about blame. It is about liberation. If you are the projector, you are not trapped by what appears. You are empowered to shift it, not by controlling the scene, but by shifting the signal. When you begin to observe with curiosity instead of judgment, reality softens. When you observe with neutrality instead of fear, resistance dissolves. And when you observe with inner knowing, the external world reconfigures to match that certainty. The quantum field is always listening, not to your words but to your gaze. Not to what you say you want, but to what your attention proves you believe in. This is why presence matters. Not just to slow down, but to become aware of where your energy is going. Because wherever your energy flows, your timeline grows. If you constantly observe from survival, reality loops. If you observe from scarcity, options shrink. But when you begin to observe from trust, the field relaxes. When you hold a new identity, not reactively but consciously, the projection changes, and what you see begins to surprise you. This is where the illusion starts to dissolve. You realize that the outer world has always been secondary, an echo, not the source. You realize that true change does not begin with action, it begins with perception. You start to understand why things shifted when you stopped obsessing. Why peace arrived when you let go. Why synchronicities multiplied when you stopped doubting. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You became the observer who knows they are also the creator. You stopped watching from fear. You started projecting from presence. This is the quiet miracle. You are not stuck with what you see. You are empowered to change what you stream. Your reality is not reacting to you, it is reflecting you. And that reflection is always honest. When you change how you see, you change what you live. This is why internal alignment matters more than external control. Because when your internal world shifts, the field must follow. Not as magic, but as mirrored coherence. Your job is not to fix the screen. Your job is to adjust the projector. And that projector is you. So ask yourself, what would I see if I stopped assuming I already knew what life is? What would emerge if I looked through the eyes of possibility instead of protection? Because the universe is not punishing you. It is responding to the image you hold. Change the image, and you change the outcome. Which means, the next frame of your life is still waiting for your gaze. Breathe this in. I see with intention now. You have spent so long believing that you needed to earn it. The love, the abundance, the clarity. You were taught that if you just tried harder, aligned better, meditated more, healed deeper, then the universe would finally respond. But what if it already is? What if you have never needed to prove yourself worthy, because your very existence is the proof? You are not a separate thing trying to attract a distant source of power. You are the power. You are not asking the universe to see you. You are the field through which the universe expresses itself. The quantum field does not respond to force. It responds to coherence. And coherence begins when you remember who you are. You are not a beggar at the gates of reality. You are the gate. You are not the one chasing the signal. You are the signal. This is the truth you forgot. The truth the world asks you to suppress. That your frequency is not a request. It is a command. Not loud, not aggressive, but deeply magnetic. When you embody your truth, without shrinking, without needing validation, the field bends. Not because you are manipulating it, but because it cannot help but orbit around what is fully integrated. You are not the seeker anymore. You are the anchor. You are the gravitational center of your reality. Not through control, but through remembrance. There is nothing more potent than a being who is no longer waiting. When you stop chasing the outcome and start embodying the version of you who already has it, the quantum field recalibrates. Because it must. Not because it favors you, but because it recognizes resonance. You are not here to perform worthiness. You are here to remember that your very presence is the pulse the field listens to. And it listens, constantly. When you enter a room grounded in who you are, the room shifts. Not because of what you say, but because of what you carry. That is not arrogance. That is awareness. You are not the one making the universe notice you. You are the frequency it already responds to, naturally, instinctively, inevitably. This is why chasing feels heavy. Because chasing assumes lack. But you are not lacking. You are broadcasting. And your signal, when coherent, cannot be ignored. No effort is needed, only truth. No force is needed, only presence. You are not one of many. You are a field of consciousness so specific, so divinely tuned, that no other signal can replace you. You are not here to earn alignment. You are alignment, remembering itself. And from this space, manifestation begins to feel effortless. Say this aloud: I am the center. There will be moments when everything slows, when the movement you were expecting does not arrive, when the answers go quiet, when the world outside falls still and you begin to doubt what you felt so deeply only days before. You may think something has gone wrong. You may question if you are blocked, if you have regressed, if you missed something vital. But what if nothing is broken? What if the silence is sacred? Stillness is not emptiness. It is information. It is the space between your last signal and the field's unfolding response. In music, silence shapes the rhythm. In nature, winter creates spring. And in the quantum field, stillness is not absence, it is recalibration. You are not being ignored. You are being realigned. When you feel like nothing is happening, it is often because everything is, just not yet in ways your eyes can see. The universe is not always loud. Its greatest shifts arrive in the quiet, in the in-between, in the moments where your identity is adjusting to a new frequency. Because change does not begin with results. It begins with resonance. The timeline you are moving into does not match the energy of rushing. It matches the energy of trust. And trust often looks like stillness to the mind, but to the field, it is a powerful signal. Stillness says, I know it is working. Stillness says, I do not need to chase. Stillness says, I am already the version I have been seeking. You do not need to perform trust for the universe to respond. You only need to become it. This is where many give up, in the still moments. They misread the silence as rejection. But silence is not no, it is alignment in motion. And the more you can remain present inside it, the clearer your field becomes. Stillness is integration. It is your nervous system catching up to your intention. It is your mind softening so your energy can stabilize. It is your frequency anchoring before the world rearranges. Do not rush this part. Do not demand evidence too early. That pressure collapses the very space where transformation is taking shape. Instead, listen more. Feel deeper. Let the silence speak. There is data in this pause. There is guidance in this breath. There is direction in this stillness, if you allow it to teach you. Because even when you feel stuck, your last broadcast is still echoing in the field. Reality is not ignoring you, it is rearranging itself around your most recent signal. So ask yourself, what am I really sending now? Panic, doubt, impatience, or trust, stillness, knowing. The more honest your stillness, the clearer the response becomes. So when it feels like nothing is happening, everything is. Whisper this to yourself, my silence is sacred. You notice it again. A familiar moment, a familiar pain, a situation that looks different on the surface, but underneath it feels exactly the same. The names change, the details shift, but the emotion, the pattern, it repeats. Like a song you did not mean to play again. You wonder, why does this keep happening? You tell yourself you should know better by now. You feel the frustration of spiritual fatigue, as if you are trapped in a cycle you cannot seem to escape. But you are not being punished. You are being shown. What you call a loop is not failure. It is a frequency that has not yet been resolved. A message that has not yet been integrated. A piece of self that is still waiting to be witnessed. The field is not holding you hostage. It is holding up a mirror, again and again, until you see. You are not stuck. You are circling the same point from different angles because there is something sacred buried in the center. And once you truly see it, once you stop reacting and start recognizing, the pattern dissolves. Not through force, but through awareness. This is not about fixing yourself. It is about understanding what still lives beneath the surface. Every loop is a teacher. Every repeat is a portal. But portals only open when approached with presence, not frustration. Most people meet the loop with resistance. They panic, run, numb out, or rush forward. But the loop is not asking for speed. It is asking for stillness. Not to stop time, but to help you see what was invisible the last time you passed through. It may be a belief, a memory, a part of you that never received safety, or a version of you that still carries the vibration of lack, rejection, or fear. The loop is not here to shame you. It is here to retrieve you, because some aspects of your identity have been fractured. Some truths were buried so long ago they only surface when something triggers them. And that trigger, the loop, is not the enemy. It is the invitation to stop reacting, to stop running, to finally turn inward and ask, what am I still believing here? Who do I still think I am? And what part of me is asking to come home? The field will always echo back what you hold within, not to judge, but to reveal. Because until you meet yourself fully, you will keep meeting versions of reality that carry the same emotional code. And this is not because you are broken. It is because the field loves you enough to offer healing in repetition. The loop is not a wall. It is a doorway disguised as déjà vu. So the next time you feel it, pause. Do not escape it. Feel the pattern in your body. Feel the tone of your thoughts. Observe the shape of your reaction. This is your chance to respond differently, to choose presence over panic, to ground instead of grasp, to stay when you would normally flee. Because the moment you stay, the pattern reveals itself, and what was once unconscious becomes integrated. The frequency clears, the cycle ends, and you step into a new version of yourself, one that no longer attracts the same scene. You do not need to fear the loop. You just need to see it. Because what you see, you reclaim. And once seen differently, the loop collapses. Remember this when the cycle returns. I no longer run, I integrate. You might be waiting for the explosion, for the sky to split open, for time to pause, for something divine to descend and declare, now, you are awakened. You might be searching for fireworks, a clear moment where everything changes, forever. But the truth is, awakening rarely arrives like thunder. It arrives like mist, like breath, like light that slowly enters a darkened room. You are expecting the mountain to move, but what if activation is the moment you become still enough to feel the wind shift? In the quantum field, massive shifts begin with subtle frequency changes. And those changes are so soft, so quiet, that most miss them entirely. It is not that nothing is happening. It is that everything is happening so gently you do not realize you are already in motion. Your transformation is not waiting to begin. It already has. Think back. There were days you reacted, and then one day you paused. There were moments when fear used to guide you, and then you questioned it. Not loudly, not dramatically, but something tiny moved. That is activation. It is not found in visions or voices. It is found in how you hold your breath before speaking, in how you choose silence over defense, in how you soften instead of protect. It is found in the moment you stop performing for the universe and start feeling yourself inside it. Awakening is not a performance. It is not a title. It is not an identity to display. It is an unfolding. It is a homecoming. And it happens so gradually, your mind might miss what your soul already knows. You might still feel doubt. That is normal. You might still have bad days. That is natural. You might think, if I am really awakening, why do I still feel fear? Because activation does not erase your humanity. It expands your awareness inside of it. You become more conscious of your unconscious habits. You become more sensitive to energy that once felt normal. You become more aware of subtle imbalances, quiet misalignments, and faint intuitions you used to ignore. And that awareness? It is powerful. Because once you see, you cannot unsee. Suddenly, the things you tolerated feel heavy. The conversations you once endured become impossible to sit through. The roles you used to play begin to feel like costumes you can no longer wear. You may not know exactly where you are headed, but something inside you knows you can never go back. This is not confusion. It is activation in progress. There will be days you feel tender, emotional, unsure, not because you are lost, but because so much of what you used to be is dissolving, and the space between who you were and who you are becoming can feel like free fall. But you are not falling. You are expanding. And expansion does not always feel like power. Sometimes it feels like vulnerability. Sometimes it feels like emptiness. Sometimes it feels like the quiet hum before the orchestra begins. So if it feels like nothing is happening, look again. Notice how you speak to yourself. Notice how you breathe in moments of uncertainty. Notice how your body responds to truth now, faster, louder, clearer than ever before. That is the shift. You are tuning in. You are decoding the language of your own vibration. You are learning to speak frequency before you speak words. The more present you become with this process, the more it accelerates. Not through force, but through permission. You are not here to rush into your future. You are here to arrive fully in the present. Because it is here, in this exact moment, that your timeline begins to take shape. Not next week. Not when you heal more. Now, there is nothing missing from your activation. There is only awareness to be deepened. And as your awareness expands, your field becomes coherent. And as your coherence stabilizes, the quantum responds with precision. There is nothing dramatic about this. And yet it changes everything. Because a quiet shift in frequency ripples across your entire life. It rewrites the invitations you receive. It rearranges the people who stay. It refines the messages you attract. And it activates timelines that were once beyond reach. Not because you tried harder, but because you finally allowed yourself to soften. So stop waiting for the thunder. You are the signal the field is already responding to. The signs are already around you, but they arrive without sound. Say this with me. I am already becoming. You have been searching for the breakthrough, for the answer, for the feeling that tells you it is finally happening. You have read the books, watched the signs, waited for the shift, and still, a part of you wonders, why has it not arrived yet? But what if it is not delay? What if your seeking is the thing keeping it at a distance? Because the more you seek, the more you signal to the field that something is missing, that something is not yet here, that you are not yet whole without it. The quantum field does not respond to desire, it responds to frequency. And frequency is not based on what you want, it is based on what you broadcast. Every time you chase, even spiritually, you reinforce the vibration of lack. Not because you are wrong to want more, but because seeking subtly tells the field, I do not yet have this, I am not yet this. And so the field reflects that back, not to punish you but to mirror your signal. This is the paradox of manifestation. You cannot get the thing by needing it. You receive it by being the version of you who no longer chases it. Desire is not the problem. Attachment is. Desire can be magnetic when it is paired with trust. But when desire becomes craving or desperation or control, it collapses coherence. And coherence is the signal the field responds to. So what if you stopped striving? What if you released the grip? What if you allowed the outcome to arrive on its own terms while you anchored into who you already are? This is not giving up. It is giving space. When you stop seeking, you signal readiness. When you stop forcing, you signal wholeness. When you stop chasing, the thing you were seeking can finally recognize you. Because now you are a match. The version of you who already has what you desire is not chasing it. They are living it. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, but effortlessly, because it is no longer outside of them. This is the shift. You stop reaching. You start remembering. You remember that the outcome is not the goal, the embodiment is. And embodiment happens when you decide, this is who I am now, without needing confirmation, without begging for signs, without asking if it is working. You walk, you breathe, you align, and then, without warning, what you once sought begins to appear. Not dramatically, not always loudly, but unmistakably. The text comes, the offer arrives, the clarity lands, not because you summoned it through willpower, but because you became the version of you who was no longer waiting. And the field responds to that. This is surrender, not in weakness, but in magnetic coherence, not in passivity, but in quiet authority. You stop trying to bend the universe, and instead you become so aligned, it bends toward you. Let the desire be felt. Let the vision remain, but release the tension around it. Let it float. Let it breathe. You are not missing anything. You are unfolding. And the more you release your grip on needing it to come, the faster it finds you. Because desire without grasping becomes inevitability, which means your greatest shift may come in your quietest hour. Can you release the need and let it arrive? There is something you have been feeling lately. Not always loud, not always clear, but it is there, underneath your thoughts, beneath your routine. A subtle sense that something is shifting. A quiet awareness that you are not the same as you were even just a few weeks ago. You are calmer in moments that used to trigger you. You are uninterested in energies that once pulled you in. You are seeing through conversations, situations, and behaviors that once confused you. And yet, a part of you still doubts. You look at your current life, and it does not yet reflect the clarity you feel inside. You still see old patterns lingering. You still notice familiar fears trying to take root. You wonder, if I have really changed, why does the outer world still look the same? But what if the inner shift is already complete, and it is your mind that has not yet caught up? Vibration leads. Your energy is ahead of your thoughts. Your body has already calibrated to a new frequency, even if your mind is still referencing the past. This is what the in-between feels like. It is not stagnation. It is integration. And integration is messy. It is the space where your system recalibrates to your new identity. It is the tension between your old narrative and your current frequency. Do not confuse mental confusion for energetic failure. Just because your mind is uncertain does not mean your signal is weak. In fact, it often means the opposite. You are shedding cognitive attachments, outdated beliefs, identity loops, self-talk that no longer fits. And that process is disorienting. Your mind is trying to find landmarks in a landscape that has already changed. But there is nothing wrong. You are just walking into new terrain with an old map, and that map is dissolving in your hands. This is the moment where many go backward. They mistake the gap for a sign that nothing is working. But the gap is a sign that everything is working. You are not waiting for your energy to catch up. You are waiting for your thoughts to adjust to what you have already become. So be gentle with yourself here. The mind moves slower than the field. It wants certainty. It wants evidence. But the field moves in frequency, not facts. It aligns through coherence, not conclusions. You do not need to prove your growth. You only need to trust the version of you that is already active beneath the surface of your overthinking. Because while your mind is still narrating old doubts, Your energy is broadcasting a completely new timeline, and soon, the mind will quiet. The stories will shift. The inner reality will become the outer one, but only if you do not sabotage the space in between. This is the test of your patience. This is the invitation to trust what you feel, even when your thoughts try to argue, because the field is already responding to your vibration. And the evidence is coming, not to prove you are aligned, but because you already are. You do not need proof. You are the proof. Hold this line when doubt creeps in. It says already real. I just haven't seen it yet. There is a lie that has followed you. The belief that you have been waiting to become, waiting to align, waiting to awaken. It whispers that your moment has not yet come, that your path is just beyond reach. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. You were never waiting. You were remembering. Your soul has never been out of alignment. It has only been covered by noise, by fear, by stories that were never yours. But beneath all of that, your original signal has remained untouched. You have always known. You have always felt something deeper pulling at the edges of your awareness. Even in your darkest hour, even when you doubted everything, that whisper remained. The nudge that said, there is more. Not more to chase, not more to achieve, but more of you to uncover. This moment right now is not the beginning. It is the remembering. You are not arriving somewhere new. You are stepping back into what you always carried. You are returning to the truth that was too quiet to hear beneath the chaos. And now that the noise has softened, now that your frequency has begun to stabilize, you can hear it again. The call, the memory, the knowing. This is not imagination. This is coherence reactivating in your field. This is your original alignment surfacing after years of forgetting. You do not need to build your future from scratch. You only need to align with the version of you that already exists. The one who remembers. The one who does not wait for signs, but becomes one. The one who does not beg for proof, because they are the proof. The one who does not fear the unknown, because their soul has walked it already. Everything you need is encoded in your field. Every decision, every timeline, every shift, already embedded in your energy. You are not discovering something new. You are activating something ancient. This is the nature of quantum awakening. Not a journey forward, but a return inward. Not an effort to become, but a surrender into what you already are. There were parts of you that had to forget, to survive, to belong, to function. But now, survival is no longer your ceiling. Now you are safe enough to remember. And what you remember, you reclaim. Your gifts, your power, your clarity, not given to you, reawakened from within you. There is no finish line in this work. No arrival point, only deeper layers of memory unfolding. And each time you remember, your field becomes more magnetic. Your presence becomes more precise. Your timeline becomes more inevitable. You are not the same as you were a year ago, not even the same as you were yesterday. Not because you changed, but because you remembered more of yourself. And the more you remember, the less you need to seek. Because you realize that every answer you looked for outside of you was always stored within you. This is why silence feels different now. Why solitude feels like home. Why certain relationships fall away, not in anger but in clarity. Because your frequency has remembered what it is. And anything that cannot match it naturally fades. You are no longer trying to convince the world of your worth. You are holding your frequency and letting the world respond. You do not need to rush. You do not need to prove. You do not need to manifest faster. You only need to stay in this remembering. This quiet, powerful remembrance of who you have always been. The version of you that lives in peace, not because life is perfect, but because you are present. The version of you that trusts the unfolding, not because you know what will happen, but because you know who you are while it happens. The version of you that no longer waits, because they already are. This is the timeline you were always destined for. This is not the end of your search. It is the beginning of your embodiment. No more waiting. No more hiding. No more seeking what you already hold. You are not becoming the signal. You are returning to it. You were never waiting. You were remembering. Or rather, carry yourself forward. Listen to this again when you forget who you are.